A billionaire stopped at midnight for a little boy selling flowers in the freezing cold. He thought he was about to do one small act of kindness. Instead, one sentence from that child pulled him into a hidden past, a deadly secret, and a truth that would change his life forever. What he discovered inside that tiny apartment was more powerful than money, more painful than regret, and impossible to forget. Before we dive into this incredible story, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. I was worth billions. Yet that night I felt poorer than the wind. My car stopped at a red light. In the middle of a cold Manhattan midnight. And I saw him. A little boy. Bare hands. Thin jacket. A bundle of crushed flowers trembling in his arms. Snow clung to his shoes. His lips were pale. But his eyes still searched every passing window with hope. I stepped out, my polished shoes touching dirty slush. The sharp air cutting through my coat. "Why are you here alone?" I asked. He looked up at me and said, "My mother is sick. Flowers make people smile." I thought maybe smiles could buy medicine. His words hit harder than any boardroom betrayal I had ever survived. I had built empires from steel, risk, and sleepless nights. But that child, standing under a flickering street lamp, showed me the poverty inside my own soul. Then a woman ran toward us from the corner store. Her cheeks were red from the cold. Her scarf loose. Her breath shaking. She knelt beside the boy, wrapped her coat around him, and looked at me with fierce, gentle eyes. "Children should not have to carry the weight of the world," she said. Something in her voice broke the silence inside me. And for the first time in years, I wanted to become more than a rich man. I wanted to become a good one. So I followed them through the sleeping city. Past steam rising from subway grates. Past shuttered shops and tired neon lights. Toward a door that would open not just to their pain, but to the truth that would change my life forever. I climbed the cracked stairs behind them. Each step echoing through a hallway that smelled of damp walls, old paint, and boiled rice. The woman pushed open a narrow apartment door. Warm air touched my face. Thin and tired. But alive. Inside, a single lamp glowed over a worn couch. A pot simmered softly on a small stove. Medicine bottles stood beside a framed photo of happier days. The boy rushed to a bed in the corner. "Mom, I sold some," he whispered, placing the flowers down like treasure. A frail woman turned her head on the pillow. Her skin was pale, but her smile held dignity that no hardship could erase. The woman beside me spoke gently. "My name is Elena. I watch over them when I can." Her voice was calm. Yet her eyes carried storms she had survived in silence. I stood there, a billionaire in an Italian coat, feeling smaller than that room. Then the sick woman looked straight at me, and said words that froze my breath. "I know your face. You are the man my husband wrote to before he died at your first factory." The air changed. The steam from the pot. The rattle in her chest. The boy's innocent breathing. All of it suddenly pressed against my heart. And Elena slowly reached into a drawer, pulling out an old envelope with my name on it. My fingers trembled as Elena placed the envelope in my hand. The paper was yellowed, soft at the edges, as if grief itself had worn it down. I opened it slowly. The room fell silent, except for the soft hum of the stove, and the distant cry of a siren outside. Inside was a letter, written in careful, uneven lines. "Sir, if this reaches you, I only ask one thing. Do not let my son grow up believing the world is cruel. Teach him that a man can fall in darkness and still leave kindness behind." My throat tightened. I remembered him then. Daniel Reyes. A night shift worker. Quiet. Reliable. The kind of man most billionaires never truly see. Until it is too late. I never got this, I whispered. The sick woman closed her eyes. He believed in you anyway. Those words cut deeper than blame ever could. Then the little boy stepped toward me. His flowers crushed against his chest. And asked in the gentlest voice. Are you the rich man Mama said might still have a heart? I could not speak. And Elena, standing beside the bed, looked at me with tears shining in her eyes. As if my answer would decide far more than their future. I sank to one knee. The cold floor pressing through my trousers. And looked that boy in the eyes. Yes, I said. I was a rich man. But tonight, I do not want to leave here as the same man. The room held its breath. Elena turned away for a moment. Wiping her eyes with trembling fingers. The mother clutched the blanket. As if hope itself had just entered the room. I asked the boy his name. Mateo, he said softly. Such a small voice. Such a brave heart. I reached for the worn chair near the bed. And sat beside his mother. Her breathing was shallow. Each breath sounded like a quiet fight. I cannot erase the years, I told her. But I can stand here now. And I will. She studied my face. As if searching for truth beneath wealth, power, and regret. Then Elena placed a hand on the bed rail. And said, almost in a whisper. If you mean that, do not help them for pity. Help them with dignity. That word settled deep inside me. Dignity. Not charity thrown from a distance. Not guilt wrapped in money. But real human honor. I nodded. For the first time in years. A decision felt larger than profit. Then Mateo walked to the window. Looked down at the empty street. And asked a question that stopped my heart again. Did my father save your life? Before he lost his own. The silence that followed. Was so heavy. I could hear the old lamp buzz above us. And Elena slowly turned toward me. Waiting for the truth I had buried for years. My chest tightened. Like the room had suddenly lost its air. I rose slowly. Walked to the window. And stared at my reflection in the dark glass. The city lights shimmered below. Like 1,000 restless memories. Yes, I said at last. Your father saved me. Behind me. I heard Elena draw in a sharp breath. I closed my eyes. And the past came rushing back. Fire alarms. Smoke pouring through the factory ceiling. Men shouting. Metal groaning like a wounded beast. I had gone there that night to inspect the plant myself. Young, arrogant, certain I controlled every outcome. Then a beam collapsed. I was trapped. The heat burned my lungs. The floor shook beneath me. And through all that chaos, one man came back when everyone else was running out. Daniel. He pulled me through smoke and sparks. Shoved me toward the exit. And when the second collapse came, I swallowed hard. He pushed me clear, I whispered. And he never made it out. The boy stood motionless. His flowers slipping from his hand to the floor. His mother covered her mouth. Tears streaming silently over her cheeks. Elena looked at me. Not with anger now. But with a sorrow too deep for easy words. I searched for his family, I said. My team told me no one could be found. I believed them. Then I buried myself in work. Because success was easier than grief. The room was still. Then Mateo bent down. Picked up the flowers. And walked toward me with trembling fingers. He held out one crushed white rose. My father saved your life, he said softly. So maybe you were supposed to find us. I took the flower. As if it were worth more than every company I owned. And just then, Elena stepped closer, looked into my eyes with quiet strength, and reached into her bag for something else Daniel had left behind. Elena pulled out a small metal key. Old, scratched, hanging from a faded blue ribbon. Daniel asked me to keep this safe, she said. He told me that if life ever brought the right person to this room, I would know. She placed it in my palm. It was warm from her hand. Yet it sent a chill through me. Matteo moved closer to his mother. His tired eyes fixed on the key. As if it belonged to a story he had never been allowed to finish. What does it open? I asked. Elena looked toward the bookshelf by the stove. Toward a wooden box hidden behind old paperbacks and unpaid bills. The smell of soup, dust, and medicine filled the room. The lamp cast a soft golden circle over us all. It opens the box Daniel wanted his son to have, she said. But he made me promise. I would only give it away. When the boy stood before a man worthy of his sacrifice. Her words landed deep inside me. Not worthy of his death. Worthy of his sacrifice. I walked to the shelf slowly. My heart beat louder than the traffic outside. The box was simple. Dark wood. Scarred by time. I knelt. Slid the key into the lock. And felt my fingers shake. Behind me. I could hear Matteo breathing. I could hear his mother whispering a prayer. I could feel Elena watching me. Not as a billionaire. But as a man standing at the edge of truth. The lock turned with a soft click. I lifted the lid. Inside lay a stack of letters. A photograph. And one sealed envelope marked in Daniel's handwriting. For the man who survived. My hands froze above it. And Elena said, in a voice barely stronger than tears. You need to read that one first. I stared at the envelope. As if it carried the weight of every year I had tried to outrun. My name was not written on it. Only those 4 words. For the man who survived. The paper smelled faintly of dust and cedar. Like time had been guarding it in silence. I broke the seal carefully. Inside was a single folded page. Daniel's handwriting was steady. Stronger than I expected. If you are reading this, then God allowed mercy to choose you over me. Do not waste that mercy. Do not honor me with tears alone. Honor me by becoming the man my son can safely admire. If my family is ever in need, do not rescue them like strangers. Stand beside them like family. My vision blurred. The room around me softened. The lamp. The stove. The winter wind brushing the thin windowpane. Every luxury I had ever owned. Felt empty beside that one page. Then something slipped from inside the envelope. And fell into the box. A hospital bracelet. Tiny. Blue. Worn with age. Matteo's mother gasped. Elena pressed her hand to her lips. And when I turned the bracelet over, my heart nearly stopped. There was a date on it. And beneath the date, in Daniel's handwriting, were words that changed everything I thought I knew about that family. My hands shook. So hard the bracelet rattled against the wooden box. I brought it closer to the lamp. The plastic was faded. The ink nearly washed away by time. But I could still read it. Baby girl, Elena Reyes. The room went silent. Not the silence of peace. The silence of truth opening its eyes. I looked up at Elena. Her face had lost all color. Her breath turned shallow. Tears gathered, but she did not wipe them away. Reyes? I whispered. Matteo's mother closed her eyes. As if a secret she had carried for years had finally grown too heavy to hold. Elena stepped back once, her fingers curling against her chest. "Daniel was my brother," she said softly. "He raised me after our parents died. When he went into that factory, I was only 17, and pregnant. The air left my lungs." She looked at the bracelet in my hand, then into my eyes with a pain so old it felt carved into her soul. "He hid my shame. He called the baby his daughter to protect me. But she was born too early. She lived only one night." The lamp buzzed above us. Outside, snow brushed the glass. Then Elena's voice broke. "And before he died, Daniel told me something about that fire. Something he made me swear I would never tell anyone. Unless the man who survived came back on his own." She took one step toward me. "And now I have to tell you what really happened in that factory that night." I stood still, the old bracelet cold in my hand, while Elena's words settled over us like falling snow. "That fire was not an accident," she said. "Daniel discovered men were hiding deadly shortcuts in the factory. He tried to warn them. When they ignored him, he saved you first. Because he believed if one honest man survived, truth still had a chance." My knees weakened. All those years, I had built success on ashes, without knowing the full cost. The next morning, I moved Matteo and his mother into the best hospital care in the city. I reopened the investigation. The guilty men were exposed. Daniel's name was honored. A foundation was built for workers' families in his memory. But the greatest change was not in my empire. It was in my heart. Elena stayed beside us. Not as a shadow of pain, but as the light that taught me how to use wealth with wisdom. Matteo laughed again. His mother healed. And the house we built together felt richer than any tower I owned. I had once believed success meant rising above everyone. Now I knew true greatness means lifting others with you. Because money can build buildings, but only love, integrity, and sacrifice can build a life worth remembering. Moral lesson: never measure a person by wealth alone. The kindest heart can come from the hardest struggle. And the life you save, honor, or uplift today may become the very reason your own soul is redeemed.